Alrighty, well, hello again, and welcome to Five Homes to Freedom. And we are in Module 1, Lesson number 2. We're going to talk about where to buy. So we'll be looking at what city you should be looking at, what area of the cities you should be looking in, where within the city, what neighborhoods you should be looking at, and we'll also take a look at all the different features and benefits of the neighborhoods that you should be looking to be investing in. So in lesson number 1, we talked about what style of property to buy, and we decided that the high ranch or the raised bungalow is by far the best model to be looking at. It's the easiest to convert to your suited units. It's just the most practical style of building that's available out there. Our second choice was the conventional bungalows, and you have to sort of pick and choose whether they'll work for you or not. We took a quick look at the numbers, and the numbers that we're aiming for with an average price of $350,000 and our rents at the $2,400 price point. We're looking for a profit or slash cash flow of $650 per month after we pay out the property tax, insurance, and our debt service. So that's the numbers. That's what we're looking for. So why even bother worrying about where you should be buying? Well, it's very important to understand the pros and cons of where you buy. You want to be buying in an area that, a really good area in order to decrease the amount of vacancies that you might, you don't want vacancies, so you want to be in an area to decrease those vacancies as much as possible. You also want to be in a market that you can charge the premium rents, the highest possible rent the market will bear. You want to be able to take advantage of appreciation, so if and when you decide to sell one of your properties in the future, you can benefit from that appreciation or equity pullout as well. You want to find a place to invest where it's easier to manage. If you're not able to manage it yourself, you want to be able to buy in a market or a location that property managers are available, but also willing to go into. Not every property manager will go into every market. Then there's the affordability. Again, not every market is going to have the same price points. The more popular neighborhoods are going to be more expensive. Therefore, you need to balance out, affordability to make it the property cash flow for you as well. Your whole goal here is to maximize the profitability of your property. So, having said that, we should probably review what are the actual profit centers in real estate. Where does all the potential profits come from? So we'll go through all of the profit centers as you can see in the diagram here. The first one being principal paydown. Now the principal paydown is related to the monthly payment that you make towards your bank or your lender. And every month you make your payment, it's broken into two parts. One part goes towards the interest, the other part goes towards paying down the debt that you owe against that property, which is also referred to as the principal. Now this is our main goal, and that's to pay down the principal amount owing as quickly as possible through a variety of different methods that you'll learn later in the program. Now this principal paydown applies in all scenarios, no matter where you are investing from coast to coast, because it's directly related to the mortgage. Here we have a graph to show you better what I'm talking about with respect to the principal paydown. So across the bottom here, you see we've got 25 years. That's the life of the mortgage. The dark green part is the monthly interest that the bank is charging on a monthly basis. So the little blue area in here is the interest paydown. So that first payment you make at the very beginning of the mortgage, you can see approximately 80% of your payment is going towards the interest and only 20% is going towards the debt reduction. Every month as you move towards the end of the life of that mortgage, the monthly interest payment gets a little bit lower and the principal reduction gets a little bit bigger, so that by the end of the 25 years, you don't owe the bank any more money. Now that straight yellow line across there indicates what the equity growth is based strictly upon the principal paydown. So this is the equity that you now have in the property. That $100,000 purchase price, you now have $100,000 equity in it, whereas at the very beginning, you only had $20,000 equity in there. Now, above the yellow line, that's indicating the appreciation. So in this particular graph, it says it's growing at 5% annually. That means over the course of 25 years, the value of that property has increased up to approximately $340,000. That's a $240,000 growth in appreciation. So that's your principal paydown. The next one we have is depreciation. Now, the government allows us to depreciate anything related to our investments. So if, for example, you have an office and you've got computers in your office, you're able to depreciate the value of those computers over the period of 2 or 3 years because they lose their value very quickly based upon technology. It's the same thing with real estate. The government will allow us to depreciate the value of our asset because over time, if it's not taken care of and maintained and it doesn't go up in value, it's going to lose value. Therefore, we can take advantage of that and use that depreciation to reduce our taxable income. However, it's extremely important for you to know and understand that there is something called recapture, which simply means that in the future, if and when you decide to sell that property and the property actually hasn't depreciated, but it's appreciated, which is more likely the case, then you're going to have to give back to the government all of that tax savings that you incurred over the years. So you just need to be aware of that. So let's take a quick look at an example of some numbers just so I can drive this home for you. So let's say you purchase a property for $300,000. The building value is $250,000. The land value is $50,000. The government does not believe that the land is going to depreciate. Therefore, they only allow you to depreciate the building value, and that's $250,000. So in year one, you're going to depreciate $10,000. That's 4% of the $250,000. Year two, $9,600. Year three, $9,216, and it's on a depreciating basis. Now, I just want to point out also that in year one, you're only allowed to depreciate 50% of that 4%, but I took the whole 4% just for ease here. So over the course of the 3 years, you depreciated the property by $28,816, which means you've reduced your taxable income over the 3 years by $28,000. Now, at the same time, the property is going to appreciate at, say, 5% per year. That means the new value, the future value, is $347,287. Now let's say you sell it at the end of 3 years for that $347,000. That means you have a capital gains of $47,287, of which you have to pay tax on 50% of it. So you're now paying tax on $23,643 profit. But we've got that recapture. And remember now, we've depreciated the property by $28,816 over those same 3 years. So what we have to do is we have to add the recapture onto that taxable capital gain for a total of $52,459. So you can see how it can be very beneficial for you from a tax savings perspective if you're going to be holding the property for a long period of time. Personally, if I'm not going to hold it for a long period of time, I'm not going to depreciate the property because of the recapture fact. So the question is, should you use this? And it really truly depends upon your own personal strategy. And this is something that you need to sit down with your accountant and discuss with them in detail. And you must share your personal strategy, what your goals are with your accountant, and listen to their opinions and follow their guidance and advice. And again, this is going to be applicable no matter where you are, what market you're investing in across the country. You just need to double check with your accountant to see what the local rules and regulations are with respect to the tax code and see what percentage you are allowed to. I believe it's 4% pretty much across the board though. Our next profit center is called leverage. And this quite simply is the use of borrowed money to acquire assets which generate more income than the cost of the borrowed money. Sounds pretty straightforward to me. So typically as an investor, we're able to borrow up to 80% of the value of that asset. And means we have to come up with 20% of our own cash to be able to buy and control that asset. The revenue that property generates will be greater than the cost of that borrowed money. So that's a good positive leverage. And banks love to lend money out that is secured against a good solid asset such as a house. And again, this is another profit center that is applicable no matter where you are investing across the country. Our next profit center is called reinvestment. And this is where you're taking advantage of the equity in a property. So it's a very good strategy to acquire more properties moving forward. However, in our program, we're focusing on paying the debt down as quickly as possible. So this profit center may or may not be applicable. It all depends on your personal situation. You may need to leverage some of the equity and reinvest it in more properties to acquire more properties in order to be able to sell some of those properties in the future to pay down the debt on the remaining properties. So as I say, it may or may not be applicable, but it is a profit center. Another profit center then is called instant equity. Now, first of all, equity is quite simply the difference between what the value of the property is and what you owe against that property. So if you have a $300,000 asset and you owe the bank $200,000, that difference of $100,000 is your equity in that property. Now, with respect to instant equity, what we're talking about here is when you actually buy, at the time that you buy that property, what is the difference between the market value and the price that you paid? A quick little example is if we have a house listed at $350,000 and that's what other houses similar to it are selling for, then it's truly worth $350,000, but you're able to purchase it for $340,000. That means you've created $10,000 instant equity at the time of purchase. Now that doesn't sound like a whole lot of money, but there's no reason to say that you couldn't have bought it for $320,000 or $310,000. That's a very feasible spread of $10,000 to $30,000, $40,000 on a property such as this, providing you have a motivated seller. So the challenge is that when you're looking in the better quality neighborhoods, you're going to have less likely to have success in achieving that instant equity, because in the better quality neighborhoods, there are higher demand for the homes, therefore you've got more competition to buy the same home, and you're more likely to pay at or above market value in some cases in order to get that property. Places that to look out for if you're looking for instant equity is to find a motivated seller, and they are all around us. Motivated sellers can be seniors who are looking to downsize and they don't want to deal with the headaches and hassles of selling. If you can buy something privately, especially. People who are going through job relocations, a lot of the big companies or the armed forces will offset any losses in the value of a property, so they can sell the property below market value and the government will pick up the difference, or the big company will pick up the difference. Divorced couples is another motivated seller, so there's lots of motivated sellers out there where you can potentially gain that instant equity. With respect to the 5 Homes to Freedom program, this is not anything other than a bonus for you when you're buying the property. It can help you when you go to sell the property or in the future in order to help pay down some of the debt on the other properties, or if you're trying to pull equity out for whatever reason, it can be a bonus there as well. So our next one then, is cash flow. And cash flow, quite simply, is you take all the revenues collected in your rental property, and that's your rent, and you take away all of the related expenses to that property. It's called PITI, P-I-T-I. So what is PITI? Well, the P in the I stands for the debt service. That's your principal and interest. Then you've got your property tax, so that's your T, and then the property insurance. And these 3 debts or expenses are expenses that you cannot download onto your tenants. You, as the landlord, owner of the property, you have to pay these. So you take all of these expenses away from your rents, and that's going to equal your profit or your cash flow on a monthly basis. Now, this cash flow can be influenced by a variety of different things. So the cost of the house will dictate the size of the debt service, or the amount of money that you put down on the property will dictate the size of the debt service, which will reflect in your cash flow. The location of the property itself, what market are you actually in? Are the market rents higher or lower in that particular area? So that's going to dictate what income you're going to be collecting. The overall condition of the house will affect a couple things. It will affect the maintenance of the house, the ongoing maintenance, as well as the quality of the tenants that you're going to be attracting. Better quality tenants, better rents. Then you've got other related expenses to the property as well. So that sort of ties in with the condition of the property. If it's an older property with an old furnace, older windows, you can expect more expenses related to that property. So you want to take that into consideration when you're buying. And then the overall market conditions. Are there plenty of jobs in the area? Is the housing supply? What's the supply and demand? Are you in a buyer's market or a seller's market? These are all things that will definitely influence the cash flow of that particular property. Then we've got appreciation. Now, appreciation, there's a couple different types of appreciation. There's forced appreciation where you make improvements to the property. So you spend $10,000 to improve the inside of the property, but that increases the overall value by $20,000. So you've now forced the appreciation up by doing that work. This appreciation I'm talking about here in this graph is what we call market appreciation. So you can see over the course of almost 35 years, from 1975 to 2009, the market has gone up on average 6.2%. Now, similar to the stock market, it does have its peaks and valleys, but unlike the stock market, it's not quite as volatile. The real estate market is much slower to react to market conditions. But again, overall, you'll see the values have increased by approximately 6.2% over that 34-year time period. So when I do my calculations and analysis, quite often I'll use 5% as an average across the board. But again, you have to be very, very careful listening to the media, watching the news, because you'll hear statements that property values, bubbles. They love to talk about bubbles, and this market or that market's in a bubble, but they don't say a specific market. They'll say the whole country's in a market and real estate's ready to burst. Well, what they're talking about are those big cities like LA, New York, or Vancouver and Toronto. These big markets, they are most likely in a bubble, and they can drop significantly in value. However, we're talking across the entire country. So you need to take that into consideration. When one of these big markets is going up by 10, 15, 20%, that doesn't mean that across the country it's going up by that percentage. Your market, your local market, could be going up 1, 2, 5%, or it could even be going down while the rest of the country is going up. So you have to take a look at your localized market and see what the average appreciation is in your market that you're investing in. So this appreciation can be determined by a variety of different things. So here's some examples to take into consideration. Just the simple location of where you're buying, whether it be on a large or a small lot, making it more attractive to future buyers. A cul-de-sac or a corner lot will be more appealing as well to people. Is there transportation? I jumped the gun there. The transportation, is there easy access for people to get to the public transportation, good mass transportation system in place? Is the transportation system being expanded to the area that you're investing in? That's a big one for appreciation. If you can get into an area that is underserviced with the public transportation and you know that they're going to be putting in a new bus service at the end of your street, that can be huge for your appreciation on your property. What's the neighborhood like? Is it a desirable neighborhood, a good area of the town? These are things that you need to consider when you're looking at the appreciation. All right, so then we look at the economics of the area. Is it actually growing or is it shrinking? So how to find this information out, we're going to talk a little bit more on later on here. But the economic development officer in the municipality that you're investing in can provide, it's a good source for information. Is the overall population growing or is it shrinking? Are people moving in or are they moving out? What is the style and demographics in the area that you're looking to buy? When you look at a bungalow versus a two-story, which one's going to go up in value moving forward? Well, if you take a look at the demographics with the aging population, bungalows are becoming more and more in demand because the elderly people can no longer do the stairs in the two-story homes. So simple supply and demand means that bungalows are going to increase in value more so than two stories, simply based on that alone. All right, so from lesson one, remember we determined what the price range was that we were looking at, and we're looking at the middle income bracket, and we're looking at the middle of the middle income bracket. So we're looking at the price point of $250,000 to $400,000 on average. So where should you actually be buying? Well, I recommend that you buy in your backyard in an ideal situation. What do I mean by in your backyard? I'm not physically saying your backyard, but up to an hour's drive from your home, hour and a half at the very most. This way you're able to personally manage the property and be more hands-on and be proactive. You're more comfortable with the market because you're familiar with that area. But the challenge is for a lot of people who are living in markets that are overvalued, they believe they can't find good deals. Well, the reality is, first of all, that you can find good deals in every market. Is it easy? Not necessarily, but there are deals to be had in every market. If you're unable to find them in your market simply because it's not affordable, well, then what do you do? Well, the next step is to simply not look in your backyard. Start looking elsewhere. So this means you start looking, in other provinces or states, and you start to look at the macro situation of the macroeconomics. Where's the best province? Where's the best state? What's the best city to look at? Then when you start to narrow it down, you start to look at which city or which town should you look at. So you start to look at the microeconomics. Which neighborhood should I be looking in? Which street? So things to look for when you're looking outside of your backyard is the migration or the growth in that particular area. Are there more people moving in or moving out? And who's moving in and why? And more importantly, why are they moving in or moving out? Either way. And is this growth fed by new immigrants, for example? Are these new immigrants, are they educated immigrants or are they refugees? And it's important for you as a landlord to understand this, because if you are in a market, for example, with educated immigrants moving in, these people have the ability to become high-income earners, medium to high-income earners. Therefore, they can be good quality tenants for you. The refugees, on the other hand, doesn't mean the refugees aren't good quality tenants. It's just they are not going to have the same earning capacity initially. They eventually will develop the earning capacity, but initially they may not. So you need to be aware of these types of issues when you're looking at investing in different markets. Then you need to take a look at the economy. Is your economy growing? Are there jobs being created, or is your economy shrinking? Is the economy stable or is it volatile? Is it a one-horse town or is it diversified? Now, in my market here in Eastern Ontario, we are driven primarily by government, and it's a very stable market, so we never experience a high inflation rate, a high appreciation rate rather, but then again, we don't crash either. So it's what we would call a very stable market. It's also, although it is a one-horse town, we do have in our market the government, which is very stable, but we also have a lot of high tech. Therefore, it is relatively diversified. A lot of the mining towns or forest industry towns, they go through cycles of boom and bust. So it all depends upon the markets, the commodity markets, and on how well they do. So things are great when they're in an up market and there's lots of money being made, but then that market can dry up pretty quick, and as a result, the jobs are lost, people lose their homes, people move out of these small towns. So you need to be aware of the market conditions, the economy conditions in your different markets. Then we have the demographics. What percentage of the population is older versus younger? Who's making the money? Who's driving the economy these days? When you take a look at the older demographics, you're looking at people who are considering downsizing, and they're primarily looking at bungalows because they're single levels. So if that's the large chunk of your population, then that's that you're looking to invest in that market, then that's who you should be looking at servicing. Or it could also be a market where you have more young people entering into the housing market. And these people, because of the high cost of housing and the difficulty in getting high paying jobs these days, it's more difficult for them to get into housing more quickly. Therefore, they are going to become renters. So knowing who your clients are is extremely important for you in the market that you're looking to invest in. What's the employment looking like? What types of jobs are there in this particular market that you're looking to invest in? Is it a high income paying job market where you've got oil workers or high tech companies or medical fields? Or are you looking at a market that is going through a downturn in the economy, and most of the jobs in that area are service industry jobs? So you've got your waitresses and waiters and service people, and nothing wrong with those individuals. They're all hardworking people, but they're at the lower pay scale. Therefore, they're going to be able to afford lower rents. They may or may not be your tenants. You need to be aware of that. Big part of your success when you are investing outside of your backyard is to have a good, strong support team. So the three key people on your support team, in no particular order. The first one here I have is your real estate agent. You want to make sure you've got good rapport and trust with your real estate agent, because they're your eyes and ears in the market that you're looking to invest in. So you need to make sure that they are fully understanding what it is you're looking for, why you're buying these properties. They need to understand and know the market and the neighborhoods that you want to be investing in. I would say most importantly of these three would be your property manager. And I've got managers because when you're doing your research, you want to make sure there's more than just one good quality management company in the market that you're looking to invest in, because what happens if you have a falling out, disagreement, whatever the case, and you need the services of another property management company, you want to make sure that you have those resources available to you. And then, of course, you need to have a handy person there to do the maintenance, take care of the maintenance issues in the property. My opinion is if you do not have a good property manager, I don't care how good the real estate transaction, how good the deal is itself, do not buy it, because you can have the greatest deal in the world, but if you don't have a good property manager, that great deal will turn into your biggest nightmare as well. So very, very important for you to understand that the property manager is key. It's critical to your success. And then when you take a look at the neighborhoods, we get right into the micro part of analyzing. You take a look at the crime rates. Is this a crime-ridden area that you want to stay clear of, or is it a low crime rate? Is there shopping available, local convenience stores, or is there shopping malls close by for easy access for people to get to for their groceries? Schools for young families with children, parks for children and seniors. Churches, especially for the seniors who are still attending the churches. And again, the public transit is critical to a lot of rentals because your tenants, for a large percentage of your tenants, will not have their own vehicles and they will rely on public transit. So that's critical for your success as well. All things to be looking for. And of course, there's more, but this is just an example. So this is a question I get all the time. Where do I get all of this information? It's almost like it's information overload. Well, thank goodness for Google, because Google is the greatest source of resource for all of this information. And the internet is wonderful. The government census is a fantastic resource as well, and that's updated on a regular basis. And with the government census, they show people's they show the demographics, the age brackets, they show the income brackets. They profile the people with race, the culture, the language. There's a ton of information available to you just to do a little bit of digging, and it's all available online as well. And a lot of the cities and municipalities, well, most if not all of them, have their own websites, and they're getting better and better every day. And if they don't have the websites with this type of information already on their site, then all you have to do is contact the local economic development officer, and the economic development officer is like the salesperson for that city or that municipality. Their job is to sell to you the benefits of investing in their market, and they will provide you with all kinds of information that you want to take advantage of. We then have some homework for you, and I'm sure you're all excited about this homework. So the homework is, push the right button here. The homework is a worksheet, which I will attempt to bring up for you in a moment. And the worksheet will help you go through the process of identifying areas that you want to invest in. And when you identify the cities and neighborhoods you want to invest in, when you talk to that realtor that you make a connection with, ask for a map of the city, but not just a regular map of the city, because you can get that off of Google. What you want is the map that they used for MLS, and it's broken down for the MLS listings, so it just helps you identify the areas that the realtors are accustomed to as well. You want to start to do some research and look for some management companies. Hopefully you won't need them, but if you do, you want to be prepared for that as well. What I'd like you to do is go through the process and identify at least 5 potential deals that are out there. Now I'm going to attempt something here to pull up the week 1 assignment. I'm going to have to expand the view here if I can. There we go. So week 1 assignment. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a look at all the cities, identify the top 3 cities or towns that you want to focus on, and what are the fundamentals for each of these markets or towns that you are looking, such as the population, growing or shrinking jobs, etc. Then take a look at the neighborhoods that you're focusing on. What are the benefits of each of these areas? Identify 3 property management companies that you want to get some information on. And then start looking at all the properties. And just to go through the exercise and get comfortable with it, get onto MLS and see, start searching around in the cities that you're looking for that you've already identified up above. Write down the MLS number, the information, the price, etc., and just go through that whole process just to become comfortable. You may already be comfortable doing this. This is more for the newbies who have not been looking at buying any investment properties previously. The other assignment sheet that I want to pull open here for you, and again I've got to get this smaller for you so you can see, just bear with me. It's a document called Stars and Dogs, and what this is, there's quite a bit of content that you can read here to help explain what the process is. But it's once you've identified a market you want to, or a property you are looking at buying, you write down the location, the features of the property. Then you start to go through and you actually score or rate it. You determine what the growth is and you rank it with points, and you keep a tally of your score over here. And you go through this whole process. You'll see there's a lot of stuff to look at and help you go through the process. There's a total number of points that you could potentially have if everything's scored out at max. Find out what the score is, what the percentage is, and again, inside here you'll see that if it's an 80% or higher, then it's a good chance that this is a good property to buy. If it's under 50%, then it's a dog. You don't want to be buying that property. So play around with those documents, get accustomed to them, and start doing your homework, and we'll see where it goes from there. So again, don't forget to join me for the live recorded webinar, and where I can answer questions. If you have any questions and are unable to attend the webinar live, watch the recorded version of the webinar, and if your questions aren't answered, please feel free to email me with your questions. Until next time, happy investing.